Hello, my name is JC. I'm a clinical exercise physiologist and cancer exercise specialist. And today we're actually going to go over a question I received earlier. This is from Miss Lopez, and she actually just recently finished treatment, but she's less than 6 months out of treatment, so congratulations. Now, her goal is to feel somewhat normal and energetic. Her barrier is that she feels tired a lot, and she's looking to determine whether one-on-one support is right for her, but her main goal is to feel good, energetic, and to improve her health and get stronger. Now, this is a very, very common goal to have. Something that I hear all the time is how can I get back to normal? How long does it take? And also, I want to get stronger. What do I need to do? So it really comes down to understanding how cancer has affected your body and what you're struggling with, as well as what you have accessible to you. So it's very easy for me to give you a list of 20, 30, 15 things that are going to be really good for you to improve your health, get stronger, and feel better. But just because I can know exactly what you need to do, it doesn't mean that it's going to work best for your body. So when it comes to one-on-one support, because that's one of the questions she asked, you wanted to know whether one-on-one support is best for her. This is what I have to say. I can give a general list to help people feel stronger, get better, and energized. And 90% of people are going to not listen to it and not follow it. Or let me rephrase that. They're going to listen to it, but not necessarily follow it. What happens is that when you have accountability, when you have somebody to motivate you, when you have somebody to guide you through a session, you're more likely to achieve it. From what I've found is that people don't struggle with following something because they're lazy. They struggle to follow through with it because they just don't understand or have the knowledge on how it applies to them specifically. So, using Miss Lopez here for an example, I could say, you want to make sure you're getting cardio, strength, and flexibility. Her barrier is, for example, fatigue. But giving the advice of, hey, you need to exercise is not really helpful. But if I was to create an individualized plan for her to say, hey, these are the exact exercises that you need to do to make sure that you don't feel as fatigued, but still get some movement in, then it's going to be a lot easier for her to follow the plan and see results. Now, in this podcast, I'm going to give you the generalized plan, and if you follow it, you're going to feel better. But if you don't, then you might need more individualized help. So, going back with her question is, I want to get stronger, I'm struggling with fatigue, and I just finished treatment. The first question for her specifically is, how much fatigue are you feeling? I don't have the answers to this question, but let's say that on a scale from 1 to 10, let's say that she feels fatigue less than a 5. I define fatigue less than a 5 as you can get through your day to day, but you're still a little tired. Anything above a 5 is you struggle to get through your day. And if you need to take a nap or two throughout your day, you're probably between an 8 or a 10 in levels of fatigue. If you absolutely can't get out of bed, then that's a 10 level fatigue, that's severe fatigue. So if it's low on the low range of fatigue, then you can definitely exercise. I recommend starting with a 10-minute rule. That's when you start with just 10 minutes of a warm up. You do a full body warm up, working on your hips, back, knees, chest, and shoulders. You do a full body warm up, just a little bit of mobility, a little bit of stretching. Should take you less than 10 minutes to do. And by the end of those 10 minutes, you're either going to feel rejuvenated and ready to start your workout plan, or you're going to need to rest and then try again later. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So anything less than a 5, that's when I recommend that. Now, if you are above a 5, this is where I still recommend the 10-minute rule, but I recommend you just do a 10-minute walk. And for that walk, you're focusing on doing 5 minutes out and 5 minutes back. That's going to be the best way to determine whether you're ready for exercise. Same rules apply. If you feel better after those 10 minutes, you go ahead and you continue your workout. Then you readdress another 10 minutes into your workout. After that, if you feel better, you continue. If you don't, you just stop there and then try again later. That's absolutely okay. The reason that one is a full body workout and the other one, or warm up, and the other one is just a walk, it's because the energy, the mental energy it takes to go on a walk is a lot less than the mental energy it takes to do a warm up and following a nice generalized, stretching and mobility plan. Uh, so fatigue is also mental, physical, and emotional. So by going on a walk when you're, above a 5 in fatigue, that's going to help lower any emotional and mental stress of exercise. It's a lot simpler to go out on a walk and be out in green space, like anything, near water, out in some, seeing some bushes, some trees, just outside, getting some fresh air. That's going to help lower a lot of the mental and emotional stress as well. So you're getting a little bit more of that fatigue reducing effect. Once again, it's not perfect. You might do those 10 minutes and you might be like, I'm wiped out. That's okay. Go back and rest. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, let's just assume that you feel better. Then you go into your workout. If it's less than a 5, you should be able to complete a 30 to 45-minute workout. No problem. If it's more than a 5, you might need to readdress every 10 minutes or so within your workout routine. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to help you just kind of get started and get moving. Sometimes all you need is just a small goal that you can achieve. And once you accomplish that small goal, then you can take the next step. A lot of times, cancer survivors feel like they're lazy, they're unmotivated. And the reality is that cancer survivors, I would say 99%, are very motivated to get better and exercise and get back to normal. The issue is not motivation and laziness. The issue is not having the proper guide and proper plan for your body and what your struggles are. You're going through a lot already. Having to deal with working through barriers and problem solving for yourself is just an extra added stressor. So what I do is I take that stressor away from my clients and the people I work from or I work with, and I remove those barriers for them. I create a plan that's easy to follow. I make it very simple. I make it very easy to achieve. So that way it's one less thing you have to worry about and you can just follow the plan without even thinking about it. And you feel better, you feel stronger, you feel more confident. So the biggest thing is, like I said, following a plan, reminding yourself you're not lazy, you're not unmotivated. You just don't really have that guidance that you need. So the support is, in my professional opinion, extremely important. The amount of data that shows that only about 4 to 6% of cancer survivors actually exercise is insane, right? Like it's not a matter of cancer survivors not wanting to exercise. It's just a matter of most of them don't have the proper guidance or place to really get started with exercise, right? There is no cancer exercise space for people. It's F45, it's Orange Theory, and all those are just really high intensity levels that just makes people feel worse when they get started. So if you're listening to this podcast, once again, everything is designed specifically for you. So I'm here to guide you through the steps. So after you do the 10-minute rules, depending on how your fatigue is doing, then you go into the next step, which is the actual workout plan. Now, once again, if it's less than 5, you're going to start off a little bit different than if it's above 5, particularly with fatigue. So less than 5, you're going to be focusing on 1 or 2 exercises. And when I say focus, I mean that the majority of your energy is going to go to those 1 or 2 exercises. That's it. After those 2 exercises are done, then everything else should feel easy and lighter. But your mental focus is doing 3 to 6 repetitions of 1 or 2 exercises. Generally, this is going to be a lower body exercise and an upper body exercise. So I just want you to put all your energy into those 2 exercises. That means that you're lifting heavier, you're taking longer rest periods, you're adding on more weight. You should feel like it's a hard exercise to do those 1 or 2. After that, you're lowering the weight and it should feel like a light intensity, maybe moderate intensity exercise. And you can mix in some mobility and stretching in between. That's absolutely fine. Right? From there, once you're done with the routine, you're really only going to be doing your first 2 exercises and then maybe 3 or 4 more, but for lighter weights because you want to make sure that you're hitting your full body in the routine. So you got your upper body, your lower body compound lifts. So these are going to be the harder ones. Then you're going to have 3 or 4 isolated lifts. Sorry, yeah, 3 to 4 isolated lifts. And then if you have time or if you feel comfortable or if you maybe feel motivated and you want to continue, then you can add one more, and that's going to be maybe a core exercise, maybe some balance work, maybe a little bit more stretching. But that is more optional than mandatory. You want to focus all your energy on the 2 exercises, and then the other 3 to 4 are going to be lighter. The last one is optional to what you want to work on for that session. Maybe you enjoy a certain exercise and you can do that one for last. That's okay too. Now, if your fatigue is above a 5, after your 10-minute walk, then if you feel better, you're going to get into your mobility and stretching. It's the same concept. You're just prolonging the effort that you're using and you're lowering the effort throughout the session. So before you just start with your stretching and mobility. If you have severe fatigue, you're starting with your 10-minute walk, then you're going into your stretching and your mobility. This requires very little energy to do. In fact, most of these stretches and mobility exercises you can do laying down. For all my coaching clients, I give them what's called a fatigue day plan, and that's a plan that they can do in bed. I literally have them on the couch, on the floor while they're watching TV, maybe reading or whatever they might be doing for that day. They just do that laying down. And those are exercises that's designed to hit their full body while they're in bed. Absolutely fine to do. The point of this is to get your body moving and at least maintaining some sort of rhythm of exercise throughout the week. These are your stereotypical rehab exercises that you might be doing in physical therapy, for example. It doesn't really require that much energy to do. And in fact, the feedback that I get is that they enjoy doing it on days that they have fatigue, which sounds crazy, I know, and that they actually feel good and better. One of the exercises that they love to do is, and I hear this from a lot from my online coaching clients, is the glute bridge. Flying glute bridge when you feel terrible, bringing your hips up off the bed and then slowly bringing it back down. It actually helps relieve some of that stressor in the lower back, and it feels good to get your blood pumping a little bit and get your legs and back moving. That's an exercise that I hear that helps a lot for my online coaching clients. I program it on cancer fatigue days, and it's a great one to include in your routine. Now, most people, from my experience, are going to stop after that 10-minute walk and then the 10-minute about mobility routine. Now, just so you know, if you have severe fatigue, it's okay to do a 10-minute walk in the morning, for example, and then you do your exercises middle of the day or in the evening. That's absolutely fine to do. In fact, that's what I see the most, is that on days that, for example, I have a couple online coaching clients who have severe fatigue in treatment, they actually split it up. So they'll do a morning walk. They love that because it helps a lot with mental stress. And then during the middle of the day or the evening, they'll do the other exercises in bed. And that's pretty much it for your severe fatigue days. Some patients, I would say very few, are able to actually get into the full workout routine, but that one is a lot harder. I don't really expect them to do the full routine. Instead of 7 exercises, for example, in a routine, I might have them do 3 or 4 exercises in the routine. And that helps them, maintain muscle mass, maintain strength. But that's really only for anybody who has severe fatigue more than 3 to 4 days. So if you recover, after a couple treatment cycles, you kind of know your rhythm. Maybe you have 2 days on where you have a lot of fatigue. Then by the 3rd day, you're feeling a little bit better. 4th and 5th, you're feeling even better. And then 6th and 7th, you're fully recovered. You kind of get into a routine of what that looks like in terms of energy. That works great. The fatigue day plan works great if you have that, slow up and coming increase in energy. If you have more of that, 3, 4, 5 days of severe fatigue, then that's when you're really going to have to push it at least one of those days to get into the full workout, doing 3 or 4 actual exercises. And what I do is I prescribe exercises that's going to target at least 80% of your body. So if you do some sort of pulling exercise, that could be a row, that could be a vertical pull. You do some sort of pressing exercise, that could be a shoulder press or a bench press or a push-up on the wall, for example. Some sort of pressing, vertical or horizontal press. And then you do some sort of squatting or lunge or step up or hip hinge exercise, some sort of lower body leg exercise. If you do any of those three, I'm packaging the presses, I'm packaging the pulls, and I'm packaging the leg exercises. If you do any of those three, and there's a bunch of different combinations that you can do, you're going to target about 80% of your body. Now, if you feel more energy, then you can add one more, being a core exercise, and then you basically hit the majority of your body there, like I said. So that's a way that I get around helping people exercise while they have severe fatigue. If you have those, maybe 4 or 5 days of severe fatigue, then it's very important that you might have to force yourself at least one day to get 3 good full body exercises. Just 3 exercises, even 1 set or 2 sets at most is more than enough to just kind of hold you on for that week to make sure you're maintaining muscle and building strength. Now, what is this going to do for you? The question was, how do I get back to normal? If you're in treatment, that is the plan that you need to follow to get back to normal once you are done. If you don't do any exercise throughout treatment, you are slowing the effect or the return capability after the treatment's over. Because when you exercise during treatment, what you're doing is you're focusing on maintaining function. So it's easier to go from 30 to 100 than it is from like -30 to 100. Because that's what cancer treatment is doing. Whatever function you had, you're decreasing it to the point of not feeling back to normal, right? If you were able to get up without any aches and pains, now you're getting up with aches and pains. If you were able to squat down to the ground and stand back up, now you're having issues with that. You've decreased your physical capacity enough that it's become severe for you. It's a lot harder to get to the point of feeling back to normal when you're struggling just to get up off the ground. But if you can still stand up and move, get up off the ground, it's a lot easier to improve your body after that. I gotta put my laptop to charge, so if you hear a lot of the creaking, it's my chair. So, exercising during treatment is going to be the best thing you can do for getting back to normal. Now, let's say that you finish treatment, just like Miss Lopez here did. She's 3 months out of treatment. I don't know from her question if she exercised or not. But let's assume that she did not exercise. If she did not exercise, it is unknown on how soon somebody can recover after treatment. And depending on the cancer type, depending on the treatment, depending on the age, depending on when somebody was diagnosed, how many previous cancers, there's so many different factors here. Whether they're a previous exerciser or not, that's at least 5 or 6 different factors I just named. The amount of time to get back to normal can range anywhere from 5 to 15 years, to give you an example. There are studies that show that cancer survivors still feel fatigue 15 years later down the road. A lot of that is in AYA, so young cancer survivors. A lot of that is in cancer survivors with blood cancer types, because those are severe cancer treatments that cause a lot of deconditioning. And many of them are also, for example, if it's a brain cancer type, then those are metastases. The more, maybe, I don't want to use the word severe cancer types, but that's just to give it a word. Those can last a long time, especially if somebody was not active. And especially if they're older, or maybe they were younger when they were diagnosed, it could last quite a bit. So it really depends. It's not known. However, for somebody who is exercising, for somebody who was active, for somebody who maybe focused a little bit more on lifestyle and had proper guidance throughout, because this is the key. Studies that look at this had somebody who walks with the patient throughout their journey. They weren't just left alone to their own devices. They were guided through it, and they were given an exercise physiologist, a clinical cancer exercise specialist, to help them post-treatment, during and post-treatment. And what they find is that it takes either the same time of treatment or double the time of treatment to get better. Now, this is with guidance. Without guidance, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, it can be anywhere between 5 to 15 years. So, if you started during treatment, it could be 6 months to a year, or depending on how long your treatment was, about the same time of treatment. If you're starting after and you did not exercise, you did not have any kind of guidance there, then it could take double the time of treatment. So for example, if you had 6 months worth of treatment, a year worth of treatment, then it would take you 2 years post-treatment to kind of get back to normal, feel like you're getting back to normal. From my experience and my online coaching clients, it's usually a lot faster than that. So for example, I have an online coaching client right now who she started working with me before because she wanted to focus on reducing her risk of reoccurrence. A couple weeks into it, I think she had like a week into it, she had to go back to the doctor again, and then she was diagnosed with the recurrence. So she decided to work with me all throughout treatment, and she is a month out of her second treatment, by the way, and she feels better than ever. In fact, she would tell you that she feels way better than before her second treatment because she was able to exercise. She had a proper plan. She's doing full workouts, full circuit training, strength lifting 20 to 30 pound dumbbells and kettlebells, doing shoulder presses, squats, lunges, Bulgarian split squats. I mean, she is strong. In fact, she's getting to the point where she's starting to jog now. So being able to have proper guidance, like I mentioned earlier, but following a good plan is going to help you return to your day-to-day much faster. Now, it also depends on what you mean by returning to normal. Certain things are going to be a little bit more challenging than others. For example, if you have a scar, feeling comfortable in your body is going to take a little bit longer. But feeling confident in your body because you feel better, or having more energy, or feeling stronger, those can be a lot faster because exercise can have a direct impact on those. Now, I believe I've answered every question from the question that you had, because we talked about fatigue, we talked about getting back to normal, and that is how you would focus on, or what you would focus on throughout treatment. I try to make sure I gave you enough examples and target different things, whether you're in treatment, whether you're not exercising, to make sure that you can take this information and truly apply it to yourself. Now, if you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments below. But if you don't know where to begin and you would love to get started with exercise, you can go ahead and if you look at the bio, I have a free workout plan that you can follow. I'm also going to put it in the description below so you can click on that. And if you have a question for me to answer in next week's podcast, go ahead and look me up on my Instagram, which is OncoloFit. So it's Onco and then Fit, or Oncolo Fit. O-N, right? Oncolo, C-O-L-O, Fit on Instagram. OncoloFit on Instagram. You can also check my website. And I have a bunch of different blogs there to help you with your health and fitness during treatment and after treatment. I'm JC. I'm a clinical exercise physiologist, cancer exercise specialist, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. Take care.